So I would say this happened roughly 4 years ago. Myself and 2 friends used to have LAN parties a few times each year where we would play video games, watch movies, and eat pizza all weekend. My friend Joe lived in a cozy, suburban neighborhood. His dad worked in Norway, worked 3 weeks and came home for 2. His mum worked the night shift at the local hospital, and his younger sister would usually stay over at a friend's house when we had LAN parties, so we had the whole house to ourselves. Around 10 o'clock p.m., after a few hours of gaming, my 2 friends head downstairs to heat up some pizza leftovers. I said I would join them shortly once I was done playing Skyrim. Suddenly, the doorbell starts ringing downstairs over and over again, and I get really annoyed, thinking that they were winding me up, so I ignored it. After about 20 seconds of constant ringing, I head downstairs, really annoyed, asking them what the fuck they were doing while coming down the stairs. I look out the little round window on the door, and I see a man in his 30s with a creepy mustache, just smiling, looking directly at me. I just froze. I headed into the kitchen, where I found my friends standing very still. I ask them what is going on, and Joe says that it's his neighbor, Jack, who is a close friend to the family, with a wife and 2 young daughters. Joe says that for the last couple of months he had been taking medication and was in a very fragile mood, so we should try to ignore him. The bell keeps ringing in the background, so Joe starts heading to the door to calm him down with me, and the other friend following. Joe asks what's up and actually opens the door. At this point, I'm getting really worried, but to my surprise, Jack blocks the door so Joe can't open it and starts yelling, "I want Joe, I want Joe." Joe, fearing that he might get violent, locks the door and we start freaking out, hoping he'll go away. We head back to the kitchen, talking just to keep ourselves calm, and then it gets quiet for a minute. I turn around and I see Jack once again, this time on the porch with his hands on the glass door, and I'll tell you, I don't think I've ever been this shocked. He starts banging super hard on the glass, so we ran upstairs to look for something to defend ourselves, in case he breaks down the glass. I actually started dialing 911 because I thought this had gone way out of hand for us, but Joe stopped me from doing so. He was afraid that the police might come and arrest the guy, which would have destroyed his career and torn his family apart. So I put the phone away and all 3 of us, with knives, blocked the stairs. We said to each other that if he came in, we would defend ourselves if necessary. But to my relief, the banging stopped and we didn't hear from Jack more that night. When Joe's mom came home from work, we told her all about it. I don't know if she talked to him the day after, but I hope she did, because that could have turned out much worse than it did. His sister might have been there, all alone. I do not have anything that can prove this actually happened, such as police reports, since we chose that we shouldn't call it in, so I hope you can trust me on this. This happened back while I was in college a couple of years ago. My roommate and I moved into a beautiful apartment our junior year of college. Our parents made it extremely clear that two small females living alone together was not ideal for some of the cheaper, shady neighborhoods close to our college. We attended a college in our state capital, so we were in a city environment. We had a certain criteria we had to meet in order for our parents to co-sign our leases. Lit sidewalks, keyed entry into the apartment building, lit parking lot, X amount of blocks from campus, etc., etc. So we finally found one that fit our parents' criteria. Our apartment building had a keyed entry for both the front of the building and the back gate that led to the fire escape. Our apartment was an end unit that led to the fire escape, so there were 2 deadbolt locks on it. We loved our apartment. We felt safe. We had fun, truly living the college experience. And then, my roommate's boyfriend starts slowly moving his things into the apartment and staying there way more often than he should. I finally tell my roommate if he wants to stay here and use the water, electric, and food I help pay for, then he needs to pay for it too, including our rent. I tell her a 3-way split, or I'm only paying my rent and he can pay the entire electric, water, and trash bill. I think I'm being pretty fair, and even though her boyfriend doesn't have a job, that's not my problem. I work and go to college. Your "I don't want to work at McDonald's," yes, he actually said that, excuse is completely garbage. If you want a place to stay, then to the Golden Arcs you shall go, buddy. So instead, my roommate starts sneaking him in really late at night after I go to sleep, and he leaves on days I'm home. While I'm in class, he's there at the apartment, then leaves before I come back home. My schedule is extremely routine. Well, he can't have a key. So if my roommate is in class or at work, how is he getting in? He can't take my roommate's key because if he decides to leave halfway through the day, how will she get her key back? All good questions. The solution they came up with is to leave the back door unlocked that leads to the fire escape, and then he can just jump the fence at the bottom of the fire escape to get back on the fire escape when he's ready to come back. Or just stick a rock in between the door, whatever works for him. So I am off of work and school one morning, and I decide I'm going to sleep in as long as I possibly can. My roommate and her boyfriend have already left for the day, so naturally, they leave the door unlocked. I'm asleep like a pretty princess. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning when I hear the back door open to the apartment. I come to just enough to recognize the noise, realize it's my roommate or her boyfriend, and I brush it off and try to drift back off. All of a sudden, I start hearing someone creep through the apartment. It definitely doesn't sound like casual walking. It is clearly someone stepping slowly and quietly through the apartment. My door to my room is ajar just a sliver, but I don't see anyone out the door, and I'm honestly too tired to get up and look. A couple minutes pass, and I figure that my roommate and or her boyfriend are just being weirdos, and I fall back asleep. I can't be sure how much time passes before I open my eyes, but it can't be too long. I wake up to my door opening. My back is to the door and I am facing the opposing wall. I slowly start to turn over to see why my roommate or her boyfriend would dare wake me up from my slumber. And there he is. A burglar. In my room. Next to the bed I'm currently lying in. A 6-foot tall, at least 250-pound burglar, unplugging my TV about 5 feet from where I currently am. I immediately pretend I'm just shifting positions in my sleep and continue to roll over with my eyes as shut as I could make them seem, still open enough to watch what was going on. He hears me shuffling as I turn over, stops, looks dead at me, and luckily doesn't realize that my eyes are just open a tiny bit. He goes back to unplugging my TV, DVD player, shoves it in a bag he's brought, and steals my change jar and casually starts walking out of the front door to my apartment. Like he came in for a cup of fucking tea or something. After I hear the door shut, I immediately spring out of bed, grab my phone and start dialing 911, all while locking the back and front doors. The dispatcher is trying to calm me down. At this point, I am hysterical. I can't even catch my breath to tell her okay. Luckily, I told her my address before I started hyperventilating. Pause. I will take a second to commend the police department, both city and college, because they were there in less than 3 minutes. Resume. She tells me the cops are there, but they need me to go downstairs to let them in the building, because they don't have the key to the front door. I am so afraid to open the door to my apartment, and even look down the hallway. I am about to walk to the front door and extend my arm out to the handle, when I hear, "Ma'am, it's the police." As if I don't get scared enough already, they yell through the door. I am paranoid because the dispatcher just told me they couldn't get in and didn't realize someone probably already let them in downstairs. I ask the dispatcher to confirm that the people at my door are actually police officers. She tells me that they have arrived at my door. Okay, cool. I open the front door and collapse right there. My legs completely turn into jello, and I just hit the floor. I blacked out for a brief period of time, but they help me up and sit me down on the couch. There is at least 10 officers in my apartment, from both the city and the college departments. I look outside the living room window to the street below. There are 5 or 6 cop cars blocking the street. I later found out that they were doing a perimeter search around the immediate area. I am being bombarded with questions now. I have to try to find out what's missing besides the stuff from my room. I'm crying, I'm shaking. This is not at all how I saw my day off going. I tell them my roommate left the back door open for her boyfriend. They inspect the back door and blah blah. The next thing I know, my roommate and her boyfriend walk in and they both have the most dumbfounded looks on their faces. At this point, now, there is a detective talking to me and I'm giving my statement, giving a description of the burglar, the missing stuff, looking at mugshots, etc. I immediately stop talking to the detective, look up at the both of them and blurt out, "Someone robbed us while I was asleep. He came into my room." My roommate looks me dead in the face and says, "Oh my god, is any of my stuff gone?" That's what you're asking me right now? If your replaceable shit is missing? 2 officers take her and her boyfriend aside to talk to them while I'm finishing up with the detective. I call my then boyfriend and he comes over to help me pack up my stuff to stay over at his house for a couple of days, which turned into staying until my lease at my place ended, around 4 months. After failing to recognize any suspects in a lineup, the cops slowly start leaving. After they all leave, I call my parents to tell them what has happened, gather my things, and head over to my boyfriend's house. My roommate and her boyfriend never once apologized. Not for leaving the door unlocked, but just a general, "I'm sorry this happened to you" type of apology. They never asked me if I was okay, if I wanted to talk. Nothing. The day my lease ended was the best day of that entire year. I couldn't wait to get away from my roommate, her boyfriend, and that apartment. They never found the guy who robbed me that day. I didn't even care about the materialistic things. He robbed me of my safety and security, and it took a good amount of counseling to get that back. I am also thankful he didn't try to attack me that morning. My friendship with my roommate was tarnished. I haven't spoken to her since. To this day, I don't sleep with my back to the door, and I always have a knife under my mattress.